Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Movie Dudes. I am Alec,
And I Phil.
and in today's episode, we are going to be talking about the classic American Psycho, starring Christian Bale and directed by Mary Hannon.
Right.
So, I guess we'll just start off with a little, a brief summary, as brief as I can keep it, with
Right.
spoilers and everything intact. Um, so it's the '80s, and we follow a very wealthy guy. He's a New York investment banker. Is Patrick Bateman. He's a very egotistical, narcissistic guy who basically spends his time going to his office, going around like restaurants with his associates that he doesn't really like the company of at all, keeping up appearances with his fiance, uh, going through his daily routines and everything, discussing music and his just kind of like going through his daily life. Um, but we start to slowly catch on that beneath all that mask, all that like all those activities, he's trying to mask some deeper urges of harm, inflicting harm on others. Um, so at a business meeting, Bateman and his associates are kind of flashing their business cards at each other, talking about it, until Patrick decides to uh, get a look at his his coworker Paul Allen's card. Uh, he is then enraged by the, I guess, perceived superiority of Paul Allen's card, that he goes out and murders a homeless man and his dog. And at a Christmas party, Bateman makes plans to have dinner with Paul, who's mistaken Bateman for another coworker. Uh, they go to this restaurant. He Patrick gets him drunk, and they go back to Patrick's apartment where he murders Paul Allen. Um, and Bateman, or after disposing of the body, Bateman breaks into Allen's apartment, and packs a suitcase, leaves a phony message on the answering machine, basically telling everyone who would call his address that Allen has gone on a vacation to France, or I think it's London. Yeah, it's London. But
Yeah, London, yeah.
after this, Bateman is interviewed, but on the disappearance of Paul Allen by a private investigator, Donald Kimball, played by Willem Dafoe. And these interviews kind of pop up throughout the movie. It's not really like in terms of like big story beats where it happens. They just kind of like, oh, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
Kimball's here to talk to you, and then like just kind of splice between the scenes. Um, but a little time after this, Bateman takes two prostitutes to his apartment, has sex with them, and then murders them. Or actually, wait, no, he doesn't murder these ones. He doesn't murder these ones. He just kind of he does some off screen stuff that we're not really shown. But I believe it's described more in the book. Which, for those who don't know, this movie was based off of a book written by Bret Easton Ellis. But he or after all that happens, Bateman's at another one of his dinners with his colleagues, uh, in which his colleague Lewis reveals a new business card, which reminds him of the whole Paul Allen thing. Which Bateman follows Lewis, tries to strangle him in a bathroom, but Lewis mistakes the attempt as some kind of sexual advance, and is really into that. And Bateman is caught off guard and runs away, saying he has to return some videotapes. Uh, After this, he murders a model. He invites his secretary to dinner. Um, Almost murders her, but is cut off by receiving a message from his fiance on his answering machine. Um, and then he asks his secretary to just leave before he does anything. Um, Trying to remember what else happened. Oh yeah. There's another meeting between him and Detective Kimball, uh, who reveals that a colleague of Patrick's has claimed that he spotted Paul Allen in London, which I mean, as we know, is impossible. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and After this, Bateman gets one of the prostitutes from earlier that he did not kill to come with him again. Uh, and brings her and another prostitute to Paul Allen's apartment and murders one of them there while grisly killing one of them with a chainsaw, revealing that he has been murdering people in Paul Allen's apartment for the last however amount of time. After this, Bateman is like he's going to this like ATM. Or actually, wait. Before this, he breaks off his engagement with his fiance. Later that day, he goes to an ATM and basically is sent into a frenzy uh, of killing people after
Mm-hmm.
seeing. That's it's a very funny scene. He walks up to the ATM and sees a
Mm-hmm.
small cat walking near him. He picks it up and looks at the ATM machine and sees that it says "Feed me a stray cat," uh, in which
Yeah.
he puts the he puts the cat near the dollar or like wherever you'd insert your card. And before you can do that, someone interrupts him. He shoots her, and this basically starts a rampage where he kills I think like 9 people. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, Throughout this, he's starting to just kind of panic and freak out. Uh, to which he runs to his office and leaves a confession on his lawyer's answering machine, claiming to have killed around 20 or 40 people. The following morning, Bateman visits Paul Allen's apartment to clean up all of the remains that were in the apartment. Uh, but upon entering, the apartment is completely vacant. Has no signs of anyone living there. All the furniture's gone. The walls have been painted pure white. All of the bodies are gone, and all that's in there is a realtor showing a couple around. Um, he pretends to kind of like be a potential buyer, but the realtor tricks him into admitting that he's not there to buy the apartment. Then all she says, or cryptically, she just kind of says like, uh, you know, just leave. She just tells him to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he meets with Kimball for I think this is the final time. Um, and or he's kind of terrified at this point that he's going to get found out, but Kimball assures him that several people saw Paul Allen in London. And Kimball tells Bateman that Allen just probably skipped town to go on vacation for a few weeks. Finally, he decides to go to lunch with his colleagues. But at this lunch, he sees his lawyer kind of across the room, and he goes to talk to him about the phone message that he left the evening before. Uh, his lawyer begins to kind of like he kind of he mistakes him for another colleague of his and laughs off the whole confession as a joke. Bateman is kind of like, no, it's me, and I really did all of that stuff, but his lawyer just continues to say that it's impossible, as he recently had dinner with Paul Allen. Bateman is
Mm-hmm.
flabbergasted by this and returns back to the table of his friends, and left with the idea that his crimes will never be discovered, or maybe they're all imaginary. Maybe people just don't care. Bateman just kind of ruminates in the fact that there's no catharsis for anything. The confession meant nothing, and that is where the movie ends. And it's a very like now that I'm reading it out loud, it is not a very typical like 3-act structure movie, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It is very much like a collection of scenes that are related to each other. I guess the reason I never realized that it's not very typical is because I think it works. I think it works really well
Yeah.
in its structure.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen this movie twice, and I wanted to know what you thought about it, Phil. Since I think this is your first time, right?
So it was my first time watching it. I really liked it. So I think I mentioned that last episode how like my two of my brothers watched the film a few months ago, I think. One of them one of them kind of liked it, the other one hated it. And I didn't get to ask him since I watched the film like why he didn't like it, but I definitely will have to do that. Cuz I mean it's I guess I maybe can't understand knowing his takes why he didn't like it, but I personally really liked it. As you said, the structure really is interesting, like, cause especially if you think, if you compare this movie to other like movies about serial killers, if it was a 3-act, it would be kind of something of like, the first act is kind of introducing the killer and showing how he committed his murders. And also introducing the detective that's gonna try to hunt him down. The second act is mostly gonna be kind of like the murderer living his life, and the mostly focus on the detective trying to find the murderer. And then the third act is gonna be the big one where the detective finally finds the murderer and arrests him. But first of all, like, I thought this movie was going to be much more focused on Willem Dafoe's character, but I think he has, like, 3 scenes.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah, so the movie really is... First of all, the movie is much more focused on the murderer than I thought it was going to be. And second of all, the murderer, in this case, does not get caught at all. And even when he tells people what he did, like, the guy just is like, shut the fuck up, you're just messing with me.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of interesting and very like I was not expecting that. What I thought was the most interesting for this movie is the entire character of Patrick Bateman, which is such like, I don't know, I've never seen a character like him before. I've seen, I'm sure you've seen that as well, maybe on Twitter or something like that. I've seen a lot of memes that are like, this is a list of movies that if you like these movies because you relate or like the main character, you do not understand them. There's movies like Fight Club and American Psycho, and like, holy shit, that is the best example of that I've ever seen. Like, he's so... I think, first of all, I think his introduction is like on point. It's so perfect. Just basically the introduction is just him like explaining his morning routine of how he works out, how he takes care of his body and takes care of his skin, and it's so like that's something that I wrote too. Is in a lot of scenes, it kind of feels like Christian Bale tries to act like a robot. And during the first scene I saw that and I was like, I'm not sure I'm really it kind of feels like Christian Bale isn't doing that great of a performance here. But then as I watched more of the movie and understood the character, I understood that like that's on purpose and that's just to show how bizarre and strange the character is. So honestly, I think that's a really, really good performance from Christian Bale.
Oh yeah, I think it's brilliant.
It's really good.
Probably my favorite. It's probably my favorite Christian Bale performance. I can't really think of one where I think he surpassed it.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously, Batman's good, but like this is
I mean, Batman's good, but
Iconic.
there's nothing I feel in Batman that's really like, whoa, like the big character in the Dark Knight
Yeah.
trilogy is the Joker, so much that it kind of
Yes.
like, shadows the other character. But kind of like to end what I have to say about the character. I just want to make a comparison with another character that I think is pretty funny. So I've explained before how I'm. I think I've explained that before. How I'm a very big fan of the show How I Met Your Mother, and
Mhm.
obviously the most famous character in the show is Neil Patrick Harris's character of Barney Stinson, who is, now that I've seen this, is definitely like, it's basically a parody um of Christian Bale's character, Patrick Bateman, because it's like, he's living in a like very luxurious apartment in New York. He's got a very like hyping job in a bank, and he's like a ladies' man, and he's all that kind of stuff. Except that, of course, since it's a comedy show, Barney Stinson is like a nerd, and he's got a lot of issues that Patrick Bateman does not have. And I think the comparison between those two characters is very funny. And the more I think about it, the more I see how similar those are, and I really see just how much the creators took from Patrick Bateman to create Barney Stinson. And so I think that's really funny.
It's it's funny that you mentioned, because I out of all my notes I forgot to mention the fact that American Psycho is very huge in memes and has been for a long time. Like
Yeah.
in the past year, especially, a lot of Patrick Bateman memes have shown up, like just American Psycho memes in general. But uh, the Paul Allen murder scene, especially, was my first exposure to this movie. But that's because
Yeah.
it's one of the most memed scenes ever, where he explains his love for Huey Lewis in the News to Paul Allen before brutally murdering him to "Hip to Be Square," which has redefined that song almost
Yeah.
entirely.
Mm-hmm. It's yeah.
But
There's something really funny about all the scenes where he just goes on a rant talking about movies. That's something that I wrote. Is just how like another scene where that happens is when he's about to have sex with two other prostitutes, and he just goes on a rant about Phil Collins and Genesis, and then
yeah,
he has then the sex scene starts with Susudio by Phil Collins, which I think is like the wildest
yeah,
music choice for
it
any
is so
sex scene I've ever
insane.
seen. It's like
Uh,
it's like the least sexiest Phil Collins song there is.
and it's one of the least, and it's also it's paired really well because it's one of the least sexy sex scenes ever.
Yeah.
Because it shows more of Patrick Bateman's egoism and
Yeah.
narcissism, where he's having sex with these women, but the entire time he is looking at himself in the mirror and like flexing and like winking at
Yeah.
himself, pointing at the camera he set up to film the whole thing. It is so insane.
I think that's actually the first
But
scene from the movie I've ever seen. I think I saw it just in a random YouTube
really.
video, and like I knew about the film, but I didn't know about the story. And I
Mm.
saw that, and I thought that's a weird movie. Uh, it's to be
It is
fair, it's a
weird
really
movie.
weird
You didn't
scene.
get that wrong. You didn't.
Mm,
You didn't
yeah,
get that wrong.
for sure. Yeah.
Um, but one of, I guess, to get into some notes I had.
Mhm.
There's like a lot of I actually wrote down quite a bit for this movie because
Yeah.
I didn't think I would a second viewing would change a whole lot, but it actually
Mhm.
it actually rose my rating of this movie from 4.5 stars to a full 5 stars, because
Really?
I only I realized, yeah, I realized, like, while I was watching, I'm like, damn, I don't think I dislike a single thing going on here. I'm like, I think I like this movie like almost fully, and I was like, that's insane. So yeah, I think it's definitely one of my favorite movies. And one of the things that I really enjoy about it that it gets completely right is its use of narration, which is not very typical for, I guess, movies like this, maybe. Uh, but I love the scenes where, like, obviously there's the introduction, the scene where he introduces himself and shows his entire, like, self-care routine. There's the scenes where he's, like, there's the monologue at the end. There's just all these moments in between where where he narrates for even just a second to say something that's going on in his head. And I think it's so perfect because it shows completely that we are seeing this movie not through some kind of like third person perspective. We are in Patrick Bateman's head.
Mm-hmm.
Every scene is spent with him. There's not a single. I don't think there's a single scene in this movie that doesn't feature him.
Yeah, there is a small scene where you see his secretary that's looking through like his
that's right,
his agenda with seeing all his drawings. But besides that, I'm pretty sure they all have him.
Yeah. But yeah, I love that effect that's brought up, and I'll bring up more of like the kind of psychological effects that the film gives later on. But one of the things I noticed a lot more this time around is just how much like people are, I guess, mistaken for each other in this entire movie. It really is like the longest running, I guess, thorough line throughout this entire movie, because, you know, obviously there's the mix up between, there's Paul Allen's mix up between, you know, Patrick and another colleague of theirs, but this happens numerous times throughout the movie. Even in a random scene, I think it's when it's in the middle of Patrick's rampage where he walks into the office building and the guard says, "Hey, Mr. Smith." And it is, it's something I didn't exactly understand why it was going on until I looked into, I guess the major point of the original book, by Bret Easton Ellis, which is the idea that, all of these, you know, yuppie businessmen, 80s guys, homogenized to the point where all of them cannot recognize each other by name most of the time. And I think it works extremely well in this movie, knowing that fact. But yeah, I have a lot more to say on the ending, more than I do most of the movie beforehand. So I wanted to know, what are some of the notes that you have?
Yeah. Let's see. Hold on. There's a note that I wrote that I think is kind of funny, which is how, like, in a lot of ways, especially whenever he and his coworkers talk about their opinion, it just made me think how, like, Patrick Bateman is just a compilation of all the worst people I've seen on Twitter. Just like all the conversations of him saying like how there isn't a single woman that has a good personality, or how like if homeless people are in the street, they just need to get a job. Which is like, you know, stuff that I've seen very similar things on Twitter. So I think that's kind of funny. I know, hold on, fuck. I know there's another thing that I didn't write, but I thought of. Shit, I can't remember it. I'm just gonna go some other stuff. Yeah, well, obviously, just like any movie with Willem Dafoe, I have to say how amazing Willem Dafoe is.
Of course.
Before I watched the movie, I heard a thing. I'm sure you've heard of it as well about how they shot the first scene with him, which is how
I mentioned.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned that earlier on the podcast, some episode. I don't quite remember, but yeah.
Maybe.
You can
Basically, the way they did it is, I think this is approximately what happens. If I mistake something, you tell me. But basically, they shot 3 takes of it. The first one was with Willem, as if his character knew that he was guilty. Another one as if he didn't think he was guilty, and the other one as if he just did not know. I think this is it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was you know. Yeah, they shot it like guilty, suspicious, and completely oblivious.
Yeah, right. And like throughout the entire scene, I was just looking like, which take is that? I think that's that take. But just in general, there are so many I think his character is very funny, just because there are certain moments, just the way he talks or the way he looks at him, that there's something. I don't know, especially when Patrick Bateman will say something and Willem Dafoe's character will answer, and the way he's gonna answer is just, there's something so funny about that kind of feels like, oh yeah, right, as if like he knew he was lying, but and was just like making him think that he believed him. That was just great. I love Willem Dafoe.
Mm-hmm. It brings up, I guess it brings up the idea of like, I don't know, because the way that it's edited, once you know that, it can seem, I guess, a little disjointed upon reviewings of that scene.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that works really well, even if you do feel it's disjointed, because of just how much it's edited that way to make it seem like you're not able to get a solid grasp on the emotions that are happening. Because like in one part, Willem Dafoe will like be laughing and cordial with him, and then it'll immediately like cut to him in a very serious tone, and it's it just keeps you guessing through all of his scenes. I think it's such a brilliant idea. But you brought this up earlier, and I forgot to write this down, but it is something I wanted to talk about how so in. You brought up part of it, but in a lot of his social interactions with his colleagues or his fiance at like a dinner or something, he basically kind of blends in to whatever kind of conversation he's having. Like if it's with his colleagues, they'll be, slightly misogynistic or they'll be racist, except for the first scene. But I'll get there in a second. So he. The way that he interacts with everyone is he tries to make himself, and they all try to do this to some certain extent, is they all try to make themselves seem so much more, I guess, I don't know what the word would be. I guess superior is a part of it, but another part of it is, worldly and intelligent, to the point where in one dinner scene, someone brings up whatever's going on in Soho, and then one of his colleagues goes like, "Oh, what about the massacres in Sri Lanka?" And then Patrick Bateman goes on an entire like minute long like thing, just going on listing off like, "Oh, what about racism, social awareness, equal pay for women?" Obviously not caring about these issues at all. And then there's a scene before that, which is the first scene in the movie where, his coworkers begin to say some kind of stuff about like their idea that the waiter is Jewish, which Patrick responds to them to cool the anti-Semitic remarks, which is one of my favorite out of context clips of Patrick Bateman, because the way he says it is just very, very funny to me. I don't know why. Yeah. But yeah, it's those dialogue choices that I think add to the character, in the social scenes in the movie.
Yeah. But I mean, besides that, I think that's pretty much all. Uh, I also wrote like it is really cool how like how much of a sort of like Jekyll and Hyde personality he has.
Mm-hmm.
I think well, but that's something that I really liked about Christian Bale's performance. But the moment where I saw that the most is in the ending. So why don't you go ahead and talk about
Mm.
that?
Okay, so I'm gonna kind of go through, I guess, the final three sequences that really, I guess, stuck out to me this time around. So the first sequence is obviously the rampage sequence where his entire, I guess, his entire persona of being like just kind of being, unhinged when no one else is around, but completely like uh, composed when he's in a social setting, completely deteriorates and just leaves Patrick completely like frazzled to the point where the next day after after the rampage occurred and he confessed to his lawyer, he takes all of his meds in just like one like one go. He calls his assistant, acting completely unhinged, which causes her to go through his belongings and see the notebook, which we mentioned. But it causes him to enter enter the apartment of Paul Allen to see or to kind of get rid of all of his evidence. But obviously I described the scene before, and I don't know why it didn't really hit me. It didn't strike me that much on the first viewing, but I think this scene might be the most what's the word I'm looking for? I guess it's the most chilling scene in the movie to me, at least on this viewing, because something
Yeah.
about he enters like completely ready, like he puts a gas mask on to like get rid of or to like resist the smell of the rotting bodies, but he enters and it's just completely white, and the realtor is acting completely like cryptic about everything, doesn't even let him know that she knows, but like kind of infers like, or like just kind of infers that there's this unspoken understanding between the two, like I know what you did, but just get out of here, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such an unsettling scene, on a
Yeah.
second viewing especially. um but from this he enters the whole final sequence, which obviously there's a lot of interpretations you can kind of glean from this ending, but like one that a lot of people, I guess, I'm trying to think of like, I think the three that I've seen is like, one is obviously there's the theory that none of it was real. There's the second
Mm-hmm.
one is the theory that it was real, but the lawyer is just covering for him by saying like, oh, I had I had dinner with Paul Allen, whatever. But the third
Sure.
theory, and this is the one that I personally believe in because I think it makes the most sense, is that it all really did happen, but no one cares. Everyone is too
Yeah.
absorbed in whatever they have going on that they don't care, which leaves
Yeah.
which leaves Bateman, I guess, spellbound by it to the point where he sits back down and rebuilds his entire persona of being normal as he's sitting there looking straight forward, pouring with sweat, and he completely sums up the entire, I guess, theme of everything that's going on in this scene, with the final line that he says out loud, which is just whatever. Uh,
Hmm.
but I think there's something else interesting that I needed to write down because I was very, very like, I saw this mentioned somewhere online, and I spent like maybe 20 minutes before recording this, kind of looking up like what does it mean? But on the door behind Patrick in the final scene, in the final shot, is a door that reads that has a plaque on it that says, "This is not an exit," which some people have likened it to, a reference to this old play called "This Is Not an Exit," about four people that are trapped in a room that they eventually realize is hell, which I think is definitely maybe part of the reference. But I think, and maybe I'm reading too much into it here, but I think that like that sign kind of relates to Patrick's like ending monologue of like, there's no catharsis. This confession has meant nothing. There's no way to get out of this, like, I guess inner feeling of, bloodlust and rage and unsatisfaction. There is no exit from what Patrick is feeling, and that's what leaves the movie completely unsettling in that last minute. And I was watching that scene. I'm like, that's like, it could be stretching, but if it's not, that is some insane stuff.
Yeah.
In a way, it kind of reminds me of, not to the same extent, I guess, but it reminds me of the, I guess, ambiguous ending of Memories of Murder and why that's so unsettling to, I guess, reflect on.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
But I wanted to know what you thought about the ending. What do you think happened?
Well, so, I mean, what I think happened is exactly the same as you. I think it's just that no one really cares that much.
Yeah.
I think it's what the director wanted to show, but like it is. I do really understand why people are making theories. Like, I'll have to say, when there was the scene that the ATM showed, like, feed me a stray cat or something like that, I thought like, oh, this is a dream sequence. This is what's going on. In my head, this is what I thought. And then I saw the whole scene. I was like, oh fuck, is it? And then like, we never saw him waking up. So I thought, fuck, maybe it's not. So yeah, it is. It is a very weird thing, because like everything pretty much in that scene makes sense, except that, like, this is the only, I don't know, like, a 100% like fictional thing that happens in, like, it could not happen in real life. So I'm not sure there's a certain meaning for that specific line, but
right, I see what you mean by that.
Right, but yeah, no, that really kind of took me by surprise.
Which
I don't know. Yeah.
This is not off topic, but I have the version of the movie that I own is I'm pretty sure it's a pretty recent re-release. It was a steelbook release of the 4K edition. That it comes like comes in like a whole fancy steelbook, a whole fancy like slip cover. But something I noticed when I was, pulling out the movie to watch it was I pulled the steelbook out of the slip cover, and printed on the inside of the slip cover is the words "Feed me a stray cat" in the ATM font. And I was like, oh my god, that's amazing.
That was pretty good. That's
the kind of
stuff.
One of my favorite, like. Oh yeah, what's up?
If I bought the Blu-ray and saw that like before watching the film, I'd be like, what the fuck does that mean? Because it sounds so like out of context without having seen the film. It sounds so ridiculous and kind of stupid.
Yeah. But that's.
But yeah.
Aside from another, I guess, incidental thing that I noticed about Patrick Bateman's performance, Christian Bale's performance, there isn't,
Well,
I guess,
it
much else
also
I
is.
have to say.
It is also is Patrick Bateman's performance, if you think about it.
That's true. That's true. And what I was gonna get into was
Right.
that, and the fact that um, this is something I noticed this time around that really, I guess, got me, was that every time he breaks away from like a social interaction, you can see his face drop from whatever his expression before was to an immediately like neutral expression. It is that quick. There's one scene in particular, and that's
Yeah.
the laundromat scene where he runs into an old friend of his, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we gotta get dinner." And immediately, like if you watch that scene over again, you see him exit. He's smiling, and as soon as he looks away and breaks eye contact from her, bam, immediate neutral expression, and it was, oh,
Yeah.
when I
think
saw
I saw
that, I was
that.
like,
I think I noticed that.
Yeah, it is. It caught me so off guard this time around. I was like, wait. Yeah, but that's about all I had for discussion on the movie itself.
Yeah.
At least in notes. But did you have anything else?
Not sure. I will say I was very like we've already mentioned Christian Bale's performance, but I will say the particular
Right.
scene that I like really like is when he's when he's calling his lawyer in his office,
Oh yeah.
when he just goes from like from like crying and being so scared for his life, and then goes into like hysterical laughter. And I saw that and I was like, this is one of the best performances I've seen in a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the amount of craziness that comes from this particular performance. It's kind of stuff that I fucking love. I really like that.
Like I love it too. There's one line in particular that I love where he like, he's going on about like how many people he's killed, like what kind of people they were. He was like, I've killed a lot of homeless people, prostitutes, and he's like rattling off, and then he finally stops on like before he's like very like in hysterics about it all, and then he like anchors himself and goes, and then I killed Paul Allen, and like and immediately almost seems like proud of it.
Yeah.
And it's such a good moment. Yeah, this movie is full of little things that are great to notice about his performance. I think it's a movie that really, really holds up on multiple viewings. But I can say I think I understand why some people might not like it. Obviously, like I could never put myself in those kind of shoes, because I love this movie. But I can kind of see how someone who just kind of wants, or who just kind of, I don't know, I don't know what the word would be, but just kind of expects a regular kind of thing out of a movie wouldn't really dig it. But I think it's a good time, and I think most people should check it out.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's also all I had to say about it.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's about it for our discussion on American Psycho.
It really is just kind of weird to like have a movie where we only have 45 minutes to talk about it instead of like an hour and a half compared to last time.
Oh God, yeah.
But yeah,
but we've done it before. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, wasn't it like the Holy Grail that we only talked about it for like 20 minutes?
I think
like
we
for
might
really
have.
For a really short amount of time.
It was that and Run Lola Run, our first episode, where like I kind of realized, or like midway through talking, I just kind of realized like, oh, there's not really a whole lot to say about this movie, is there?
Yeah, it was kind of like the same thing for the Holy Grail too. Yeah, we talked about it for 30 minutes. Yeah. But yes, so do you have anything else to talk about for the podcast?
Oh, for the podcast, yes, I think I do. I guess like in terms of like the regular stuff we always kind of talk about. my girlfriend and I recently set out on a kind of film journey that we want to go on.
All right.
Where, so okay, there's this actress. Her name is Joey King. And
All right.
she appears in a lot of movies that and okay, let me clarify it.
Mm-hmm.
She is the starring character in most of the movies, in all of the movies actually, where she's a starring character. All of them are terrible movies. She's the main character. Just for examples, she's the main character in all 3 Kissing Booth movies. She is, I believe, yes, she's the female lead in Slender Man. She's also the lead in Wish Upon. So it boggles my girlfriend and I's mind that someone can have such a terrible streak of movies, and obviously, if she's getting paid well, then there's no harm, no foul on my side. But I think it is
the Kissing Booths are big Netflix movies, so I'm guessing there might be a good paycheck at the end.
Yeah, so it's there's when I talk about Joey King like this, I'm doing this from no ill will on my side.
Right.
But I would like to mention that her and I have compiled a list of every movie that she is the lead, or she is one of the lead actors in, and we are going to watch all of them. And this idea sprouted from this weekend where we watched we watched both Wish Upon and a movie on Amazon called The Lie, which is it's also awful, but it's a special kind of bad, because I was looking at the movie and I realized that on Letterboxd it says it came out in 2018, but most other places you see, it'll say that it was released in 2020. So I started wondering. I was like, why is that? Why is that?
Yeah, that's weird.
And I realized, I looked at the Wikipedia page. I realized that that Joey King, or this movie, The Lie, was commissioned, or it was produced by Blumhouse, and it was completely finished, and it was released at festivals in 2018. But when it came time to distribute this movie worldwide, Blumhouse held off on it for 2 years, and only released it when Amazon bought the rights to stream it. So,
all right, that's kind of weird.
This movie is so bad that Amazon or that Blumhouse, by the way, the people who have brought some of the worst horror movies of the last 10 years, some of the best too, but also mostly worst.
Yeah.
But the fact that this is Blumhouse, who has some of the most bottom of the barrel stuff, the fact that they shelved it for 2 years is so insane. It was breaking my mind that night. And I was like, my girlfriend was like, well, I'm not tired. And I'm like, well, I'm not tired either. I'm like, well, I guess we'll keep going. And then we watched Wish Upon that night, which Wish Upon is also awful. But I don't think you needed me to tell you that.
I kind of guessed it.
But I love the cinematic enigma that is Joey King in her many performances. Yeah. So keep doing you, Joey King, because I'm definitely gonna keep watching.
It's kind of like what's his name? Noah Centineo, is that it?
Yes, Noah Centineo.
Yeah. Who is like, I'm guessing kind of like her male equivalent, where he has played in a lot of movies, the leading role in a lot of movies, but they're all the kind of same kind of like shitty teenage movies. Where I saw I really like Carson Ronco's video about him where he kind of like did what you are doing, where he just watched every movie with him, and they all suck. There's even one with like Keanu Reeves, which it kind of makes me sad, but
that is kind of sad. But
yeah,
at least see, that's the other thing is that like when you see actors just do bad movies, you usually think like, oh, I bet they have some good stuff under their belt. Some don't.
Yeah,
and that's where it gets really that's where it gets really special. That's when you found like, oh, this is interesting. Like it very, very like, I guess not very often am I this interested in something so low quality, because I truly do. It feels otherworldly. It feels like this shouldn't. It feels like this shouldn't be a thing, but but the fact that it is makes me so interested.
It is weird, especially like for. I think it's something that's different for an actor or a director. So in Noah Centineo's case, like I've never seen a single one of his movies, but I'm wondering, is it that he's just a terrible actor, or is he like just somehow very unlucky? Because like how do you make so many bad movies and not have like one good movie?
See, that's where I kind of start to think like, because with a lot of bad performances from decent actors, it really does fall on the director. But maybe they just didn't direct them right. Maybe the script's wrong.
Yeah, that definitely could be it.
But obviously in this case, the director not really being up to the task and the script being wrong are two factors of it for sure. But when you start to see this kind of thing, like repeat, you kind of start to think like, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just, maybe they're just not very, great at acting, which, I guess you don't need to be, especially if you're making all this money. I mean, you do you, and I think it's I think it's a hell of a thing to see happen.
I'm sure that Noah Centineo isn't like crying in his house being like, why do I make bad movies? I think he's fine. I think he's fine with his career. And honestly,
no, if I could,
good for him.
I could do the same. If I could do the same thing, I would. There's no way in hell I wouldn't take a life of like, or obviously, there would be a part of me that goes, I want to make good stuff. But if I could be a bad actor who makes a lot of money, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, and I mean, also I'd say he's lucky because like he makes bad movies, sure, but at least he's not hated. Like he's got a lot of fans, and even the people, at least most people who don't like his movies, are kind of like just trolling him and are just they're fine with him existing because they're, his movies are bad but so like inoffensive and kind of like
it's
sure
That's what separates the kissing booths from, I don't know, the Dear Evan Hansons of the world. Is that you don't really feel offended watching it. You're just kind of like, you know what, this is awful, but I don't feel bad.
Yeah. Plus, I just said that he's gonna be in Black Adam, which is like,
really?
Yeah, he is gonna be in Black Adam, which is like a big Hollywood production. So
that's huge.
His movies were. I feel like his other movies were a bit like kind of cheap rom-com. So I'm kind of curious to see what maybe he's gonna give like a very good performance. Who knows? It is possible.
Well, it's very possible. I'm interested to see. I'll keep an eye out when that movie comes up, and we'll mention good old Noah again.
Yeah, and I mean, there are actors who like started their career making bad movies and then shifted to making like good movies. I mean,
oh yeah,
like the only example I have is Tom Hanks, whose first movie was a terrible anti Dungeons and Dragons movie, like very religious anti D&D
Oh
movie.
yeah, yeah, I remember that one.
It's kind of hilarious. Margot Robbie, I'm pretty sure her first big acting role was in an Australian soap opera, and that kind of stuff. Like, honestly, I would really like that, and I hope this is gonna happen for them. Like, those actors who are right now making bad movies will grow to become actually like good and successful Hollywood actors. Like, that would be great. That would be fucking cool.
Oh yeah, no. If I see in like the next 5 years, if Joey King like pulls off a show-stopping performance that like leaves everybody in the dust, I I'll take back. I won't take back anything I've said, but I'll feel different about it. It's like how I felt different about when I first discovered Aquafina. Like, I remember I discovered her first in what was it, Ocean's 8, and I thought she was like the worst character in that movie, and I was like, God, she's just kind of annoying. Yeah. And then The Farewell came out, and I was like, I'm sorry, what? I was like, where was this?
Yeah.
And it starts to make me think. I'm like, yeah, maybe it was just the script.
Oh, yeah,
or like
for sure.
the director. Yeah, which Aquafina's great.
I mean, there's that kind of stuff, like your view on an actor can drastically change from which movie you see. Like, I feel like for the past 2 years, there's been a lot of hate for the example I have is there's been a lot of hate for Brie Larson.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people have been hating her for some stuff that her characters have done, especially Captain Marvel, and for the way that she's acted in interviews and that kind of stuff. But like, I've seen people saying that how like she's a terrible actress and that kind of stuff. And I mean, she did win an Oscar for Best Actress, so like, I haven't seen.
Yeah, she's not a bad actress really at all. It's just kind of like.
Even in Captain Marvel, I didn't like Captain Marvel, but I had nothing wrong to say about her performance. The only other movie I've seen her in is Scott Pilgrim versus the World, where I thought she was actually pretty damn good. And I haven't seen Room, but like, I think if she won there's the Oscar, I think there's a reason for that.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, it is. The world of bad actors is kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, and I guess a thing to add about Brie Larson is I don't enjoy her as Captain Marvel really at all. But like, that doesn't mean I haven't seen good things with her in it or she's a bad actress. It's just it's kind of painted as that kind of nowadays, at least online, because of her portrayal as Captain Marvel, which a lot of people don't like. Or, like you said, the way that she acts in some interviews, which, is a bit much. But, it doesn't mean at all that she's bad at what she does. She isn't. And it's the same thing with, like, actors like Nicolas Cage or Adam Sandler.
Where,
like...
Well, yeah.
Where like, sometimes, or, like, most of the time, they're just kind of in random stuff and not really giving, great performances. But then sometimes you get uncut gems, or sometimes you get like, hold on, what's a good Nicolas Cage movie?
I mean, Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, I guess. Pig recently. I haven't seen it, but I've heard so many things about it.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll get like a Raising Arizona, which is a great Nicolas Cage movie. But yeah, it's a very strange world, bad acting.
I think the fact that you specifically mentioned both of those actors is interesting because their career, like, that's they are similar in that way, but they do it in different ways, which is how Adam Sandler, especially for his recent movies, I've heard is that the way he picks scripts is kind of like he wants to make a movie where he would take a vacation. Like for
Yeah.
for just go with it, he goes to Hawaii. For grown ups, he goes to like uh the forest near a lake, that kind of stuff. But then sometimes he's gonna pick movie like Uncut Gems, Punch Drunk Love, The Mayorist Story. That even to some extent, I will say, I think Click is actually a pretty damn good movie.
I like Click a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I went into it. I can't remember last time I watched it. I think it was a couple of years ago. But I remember I went into it
Yeah.
going like, yeah, this is during Adam Sandler's off air. It's not very good. And then I remember I put it on and I was like, it's not bad.
It is like the story is like so much deeper, and you actually feel like the people working on the movie were trying to say something.
Yeah.
But I
And
do. Yeah.
it has its dumb comedy moments that like
Of
are
course.
pretty
Yeah.
typical of Adam Sandler comedies, but it's I think it works fine. I like 50 First Dates.
Yeah. Sure. But I will say it is very funny how he went from from giving an absolute amazing performance in Uncut Gems, and then directly went to giving one of the worst performances of his life in Hubie Halloween.
Yeah.
Which I think it's so funny.
Well, didn't he say if Uncut Gems wasn't nominated for an Oscar that he would go and make the worst movie ever? I think he said that
Yeah,
in an
I
interview.
heard that. Which honestly I think is really funny. Like,
it's very funny. And I remember when I saw the Oscar nominations list and saw that Uncut Gems got snubbed, I just remember thinking, "Uh-oh. Something's coming."
Ooh. Yeah.
Ooh.
But yeah, so that's for Adam Sandler. But then on the other hand, you have Nicolas Cage which like Nicolas Cage. What's really interesting about him is like he cares so much about acting, about every single role that he's in. He's gonna care so much, no matter the role, no matter the movie. And I don't know exactly why. I don't know exactly how he often ends up being in bad movies, or at least like mediocre movies. But there's so many movies I feel that like people will say, yeah, the movie's bad, but like fuck, Nicolas Cage is somehow so good in that.
Yeah, like
And
case
yeah,
in point, this week I'm gonna be watching Willy's Wonderland, which is the movie that he did. That's kind of like a Five Nights at Freddy's ripoff, and I say this with no hyperbole in my voice. I am
yeah,
so genuinely excited to watch
right.
this movie. Even I will only be disappointed if it's just mediocre. Like if it's like very middle of the road.
All right, so can I just say I have somehow never heard of this movie until now. What
Wait, really?
the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
No, not kidding you at
Oh
all.
my god. The fucking poster, holy shit.
He is
my
credited
God.
as the janitor, and that's it. This movie is so. The only thing I've heard about it, other than the basic plot, was the fact that they had to change some of the animatronics because they were too similar to Five Nights at Freddy's, and they were afraid that they were gonna get sued.
Holy.
And the fact that this exists is just so great.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
So yeah, I'm very excited, and I will report back.
Which can I just, after like all those examples of Nicolas Cage, can I just remind people that Nicolas Cage was the main character in Wild at Heart, which is the movie that gave David Lynch his Palme d'Or.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's like I remember a few months ago I was talking with like some of my friends and one of my teachers. Like after a class, we were just somehow talking about David Lynch, and then he mentioned then like David Lynch had won a Palme d'Or with a movie he made with Nicolas Cage, and was like, "Excuse me, Nicolas Cage and David Lynch? Where can I see that, please?" uh, so yeah, I will have to watch Violent Heart. Like,
oh yeah, it's on my list.
Yeah. But yeah, have you seen anything else this week?
Other than the Joey King, the whole thing, I think I watched I watched a bit of The Incredibles with with my I watched a bit of The Incredibles with my niece, and that was fun.
Yeah.
I don't know what I think she'd be a cousin. I'm not too sure on the logistics of it because it's not my brother's kid. It's my uncle's very young daughter. It'd be cousin. That's what it is. Cousin. Right. But yeah, I watched Incredibles, which is one of my favorite Pixar movies.
Yeah, same for me. Yeah, it's a classic.
Well, yeah, what did you watch?
Right. Well, I have seen quite a lot of movies. Well, no, no, never mind. I've seen 3. I thought I'd seen more than that. But still, I got a lot to say about those 3 movies. So last episode I mentioned how I wanted to watch all the big classics that I somehow never seen, and at the end I mentioned that I think I said, "Oh, tonight I'm probably gonna be watching Goodfellas." Well, guess what?
You did.
I did.
Ooh.
Dude, that's fucking good. That's fucking good. So that was actually only my second Martin Scorsese movie I've ever seen. The other one is Taxi Driver, which I saw last year, and I don't know what it is about Taxi Driver, but I was a bit underwhelmed by it. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. I don't know what it is about it. I think I'd have to rewatch it. But Goodfellas, like I think just in the way that the story was told was just so thrilling, so exciting, and I had like this movie is so much fun. And it's
it's a very, very fun movie.
It's like you're always entertained throughout the entire thing. You just want to see what Henry's character will become and where he'll go, and if he's gonna like get killed or if he's gonna be fine. And obviously, at like any scene with Joe Pesci, he just steals the show. Like, holy shit! No wonder he won an Oscar for that. Like, just the scene where it's like, what? Why am I funny? What the fuck's funny about me? That was great. Also, another thing that I really like is just how much they say the word fuck or any other variants in the movie, which I read online. It was like 320, which is I think
God,
like the most the most time it's been said in like a major Hollywood production, which doesn't surprise me. I don't see how you can go higher than that. But like, yeah, that was so much fun. And I will gladly watch many more Martin Scorsese movies throughout the year. I actually made a list. I could talk about that for a bit. I've made 2 lists actually for 2022. I made a list of directors that I want to explore more, and I made a list of directors that I've never seen a single one of their movies, but that I want to change that. So
before we go on this tangent, sure. There is one thing I want to interrupt with, which I just looked this up, and I'm very, very surprised by this. This is the list of this is Wikipedia. This is the list of movies that have said the word fuck the most.
All right, go ahead.
I'll give you some examples. Menace to Society and Goodfellas are tied at 300. Let's see. I believe the top 8 are Straight Outta Compton at 392, Casino at 422, Nil by Mouth 428, Summer of Sam 435, Uncut Gems at 506, The Wolf of Wall Street 569. There's a documentary called Fuck, and it has 857. In the top is SwearNet the movie with 935. And they even calculated the F words per minute, and SwearNet has 8.35 per minute on an average. So just a bit of just a bit of fun to show just how many movies are on that list. It's a lot. But yeah, go. Sorry for interrupting. Go ahead with your list.
Oh, sure. So the first list is the list of directors that I want to discover this year. So there's not in any particular order. There's Terrence Malick, Woody Allen, David Cronenberg, Sergio Leone, Kim Ji-woon, Edward Yang, Celine Sciamma, who is the one who made Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Andrei Tarkovsky, which arguably is a very big one, Billy Wilder, and another very big one, for any Criterion fan, is John Cassavetes. Which are all directors that have been meaning to watch their movies for a long time, and that I'll try to do this year to at least say I've seen at least one movie by that person, because they're all major directors.
I think that's a good idea. I think Tarkovsky's an interesting one, because I've only seen Solaris from him, but the movie I remember reading once online that he really does have to click with you. And I'm very, very glad that Solaris did, because I can definitely see it because I think it's 2.5 hours or something like that. 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's a long movie and not a lot happens in it. But I remember watching it and just being completely enthralled. So yeah, Tarkovsky's one that I'm very, very glad to like.
Yeah. I really hope I'm gonna like him.
There's a lot of directors that you mentioned on that list that I'm not too familiar with either, that I'm very excited to check out.
Yeah. I mean, Stalker, I've been trying to watch Stalker for so long, but I think I really have to be all right, now it's time. I'm gonna watch Stalker.
Yeah.
There's actually quite a few movies like that. Another one that comes to mind for me is Come and See, which is I really want to watch it. I'm sure I'm gonna love it, but I just now is not the right time.
Yeah, I have a whole couple. I kind of have a categorization on my mind mind of movies that I own that I need to know when the time is right to watch them. It's gonna be a feeling. Obviously Stalker's there, Salo's up there.
Ooh, yeah.
Come and See's up there. I don't own Come and See yet, but that's definitely one I'm looking out for. But just a lot of movies that are I'll be oh, what movie should I watch tonight? And then I'll look at that and I'll go, not now, but sometime.
Yeah. Yeah, because they really if you don't watch them at the right time, it can definitely ruin your vision of the film. I think one that I did watch, not only did I watch it at the wrong time, but I also watched it, I saw it way too young and not in the right conditions, is 2001.
You told me about that.
Yeah, I'm sure I did. But I saw it, for those who haven't heard that, I saw it when I was 14 years old. I saw it in my living room which like during the afternoon when there was my whole family like talking about in the background. And I just could not focus on it. And I was at a point in my life too where like I saw it because I thought, well, everyone says it's good, I should watch it. And I was definitely too young to truly appreciate a movie that has so little dialogues. Because I think it's like no one talks in the movie until the first 30 minutes or something like that.
I think that's right. Yeah, I haven't seen it, so I can't really confirm.
Oh, all right. Well, yeah, so I'll have to check. Like, there's a few theaters in Montreal that show like, those kind of old movies, and I'm sure sometime I'm going to see one of them is showing 2001. So when they do, like, I'm going to try to get a ticket. I'm going to try to watch it.
Yeah, we have an art house theater in my area that shows like presentations of movies. Like that's where I saw Tetsuo and Chungking Express, and I've been waiting for them to do Space Odyssey. I think they did it once a few months ago, but I wasn't able to go to that one. But I don't think I've told this story, but my story of like the a movie that I was definitely like not in the right situation for was The Irishman. Because I watched it and I'm not too sure if this will translate well to, I guess, people outside of the States, but everyone who's in the States will know what I mean. I watched it the night before my ACT, which was an awful idea. Which for those who don't know,
isn't that like the like big test you have in high school? Is that what it is?
There are two now. There's the SAT, which like gives you a result that's in like the thousands, and then there's the more recent ACT, which is like it just kind of like gives you in like the double digits. I didn't do very well, might I say, in my ACT. I don't think that was partly due to The Irishman, but I'm just gonna say that I watched it. I started it at 10 o'clock, and I finished at 1:30 when I had to get up at 6 in the morning the next day.
Yikes.
Yeah, which if you're not going to college, this is my advice, I guess, to any high schoolers. If you're not going to college, and if you don't want any kind of like, I guess, grants or anything like that, don't take the ACT if you have to go out of your way to do it. Because obviously I go to college and I wanted to take the ACT, but I met so many people that just did not go to college, that wasted an entire day doing the ACT, and it really does, like, it is bad because it's an entire regular American school day, which is like 8 to 3 p.m. and you're there taking the test the entire time. You don't have your phone, you don't have anything, you don't even have a book. You just have the test, and I think like a 15-minute break between each of the tests. It is maddening. At least,
well, that just straight up sounds like hell to me.
It is. It is a hell that I am very glad I will never have to do again. But I remember immediately after leaving, I thought, I'm like, I don't even care what the result is. It was. Yeah. I don't even know why. I think I did it purely for the scholarship opportunities, because I was already accepted into the college I go to now by the time that I took the ACT. I don't know why I did it. It was such a hell of my own creation and choice that I would really not wish upon anybody else. But maybe it's just because I don't like taking tests. But yeah, don't watch a 3.5 hour long movie the night before a test. That was a very, very crucial lesson I learned that night.
See, it's weird because like here in Canada we don't have like anything like some kind of test like you take for a certain I don't know, like when you graduate from high school, it's just like you do your finals, and you know, try to pass them, and then if you did, well, good, you can go to college or do whatever you want. You get your diploma. So you know, it is kind of weird to me that this exists, but sure.
Well, so wait, how do at least how does it work in Canada in terms of being chosen by colleges? Is it just purely grades based?
Oh, it's yes, pretty sure it is. There's mostly that, but there are also certain things like you can get, like there's certain programs that you can go in high school, certain schools that are obviously like certain schools that are higher rated, and that if they see that someone went to that school, they'll think like, that's pretty good. So, and like that was sort of the case for me, because like I went to a pretty basic school, but I went to a program that exists in a few other high schools. This is kind of like the international program, which what that means is that you go to high school, and you learn I think you learn sort of like you learn the same things, but there's a few things that you learn that are supposed to like prepare you to college, and the workload, that's the thing, the workload is different. It's more intense in the international program because it's again supposed to prepare you to college, which honestly, to be honest, like I did think that the workload in college and high school wasn't that different, so I guess it did help. But the main thing and the worst thing about it was you had to do hold on, I forgot the word. Let me just use Google Translate real quick. You had to do volunteering. You had to do, I think, like it progressively gets like to a bigger number each year, but I think like in the first year it's 10 hours, and the other year, the last year, it's like 20, I think. And it's like you've got you've got different choices you can pick, and so you know that was like not fun, because it's like when you're a teenager, you don't really think about that kind of stuff, and you just think about like I just was thinking about like watching YouTube videos. Oh yeah, that you do that every year in high school, but except the last year, because in last year you do what's called your personal project, which is basically you can do anything that you want to do. Like when I say it's anything, literally anything. But you have to do like this. You have to fill this massive document about how you did it, and a bunch of like dumb, stupid, and annoying questions in it too.
Okay.
And it's the kind of stuff that like you do the project, and it's much more focused on the like the files that you give, and the whole thing about like the question they ask you. That is much more important than the actual project. So they always ask you like, they always tell you like, we're sure you're very passionate about your project, but don't put too much work into it. So like, I actually made a short film. It is the worst thing I've ever done in my life. Like, it's so horrible. And I'm pretty sure the file doesn't exist anymore because it was in a laptop that I had that broke. And honestly, that's good. I'm fine with that.
I understand that feeling. Very recently, for the end of my my fall semester, I had to do a short film for the end, or just kind of for like the end of semester project. And for those who remember, on my YouTube channel, it was in the middle of the semester, it was for my midterm, I did a short film called Date Night that I liked so much that I'm like, I'm gonna release that. That's good. But for the end of semester short film, it frankly came out so bad that I genuinely do not ever want to watch it again. And if I can help it, it is not going to be released in any kind of capacity. I have it, and I'm not gonna delete it, but I'm not gonna
All
put
right.
it up either.
Mm,
It's definitely it's not that it's like horrible. It's just I know I can do better, and a lot of elements were out of
mm,
my control because it was crunch time and locations we couldn't really use.
right.
Um, it's just a lot of things. It didn't really go too well, so it's like, you know what, that's not gonna happen.
Mm,
But yeah, I completely understand that feeling.
yeah. It's like, oh man. Last year for one of my classes, I had a class on documentaries, and
Mm.
half like the first beginning of the class like was about like theory, uh, how to make a documentary, and then the second half was like, all right, now you guys have to make one, and it was just one like it's the worst teamwork experience I've had in college, and one like of the worst teamwork experiences I've had in a while. Um, I'm not, obviously I'm not gonna give out names because I have told
Oh,
about
of
the
course.
podcast to some of my friends in college, and so I'm afraid that those two people are gonna. Well, no, it was all right. It was because of one person, but so basically for the project, I didn't really have anyone to make the documentary with, but there were these two people that uh were like a team of two when we were supposed to be teams of three. So like I joined their team, and they'd already chosen the topic, which was, well, one of them had chosen the theme of like witchcraft, like the actual spirituality, like not, it's not a religion, but it's like, of
Yeah,
witchcraft.
I know
Yeah,
what you mean.
right, that. So I thought, yeah, sure, why not? And the thing is, like first of all, there were a lot of different details, kind of boring, kind of complicated, but it were complicated, and that were not very enjoyable. But the worst part was when that person who who chose that topic left, and so we were now two people who did not know shit, and honestly, like, at least for me, did not care about this topic, who just like had to do the rest ourselves, and we had to like find people on like Facebook, and there were like there were
Oh,
people that we asked for interviews that canceled like last minute,
oh
and so we had to
no.
like we were panicking. There was a particular place, there was a particular shop that we found that sells stuff like that, and we contacted them for interviews because we thought like, oh, of course we're gonna like make a documentary to like show their beliefs in a like good light. So obviously they're gonna say yes. So we sent them an email, and it took them like a month to respond, and they said no.
Oh my god.
And
I
so
hate that shit.
that was the worst. That was like that was so stressful. That was horrible.
Uh,
And surprisingly, I think the end product is actually pretty good.
oh wow, okay.
Yeah, I was very surprised about that, but I think we made something pretty good. Um, but it's
The
just it's always a shame when you work on something not because of passion and the desire to create, but just because
right.
of stress and panic.
Yeah, because
Uh,
of necessity. That was exactly
yeah. Uh huh.
what I. That was exactly my feeling with my
Mm-hmm.
short. Was like, obviously the shorts that I did before, the ones that I actually released, were ones that I sat down and I'm like, yeah, these are things that I want to plan out. I'm not gonna say much, but the short that we did, or the short that I did at the end of the semester, was one written by my friend. We had to do that. It was kind of like a teamwork kind of thing. Um, and I think it could have been all right if we had a lot more time to plan. That was mainly our faults. um, but the
Mm-hmm.
worst the worst. I guess I'll add on to this story is the worst teamwork experience that I've had in college so far. Um,
Hmm?
was uh, it was it was the day that I. So okay, I'll preface this, and I'm not going to name any names, but I did it with three other people, two of whom are some of my best friends in the world. And the other one is one that I do not know very well, but he was more or less the head of the project. Um,
All right.
and so uh, we decided to film at the at our actual like school because they had a set, or like they had an area that was like pretty good for like what we were trying to go for. We filmed the filming part, which was supposedly by what the director said would be about 2-3 hours, 4 hours at most. We ended up being there for about 6 or 7 hours before it was all said and done.
Ooh.
Yeah, and this
Damn.
this short this short is also one that won't see the light of day. Not by anything that I care not by anything that I care about. I think I did all right in it. Um, but
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's either the director doesn't want to, or he just doesn't put any of his stuff up publicly, which is fine. Um,
Sure.
but it was that experience alone would have been fine. But later that night, me and my two friends got together with my girlfriend, and we filmed the short date night, which is on my channel right now. Uh, and so that,
Mm-hmm.
uh, while that was a very positive recording experience, and we got it all done within like I believe 3 or 4 hours, uh, we didn't get
Mm-hmm.
done that day. That day started at like 9 a.m. We didn't get done until 4 when it was all said and done. Like
Mm.
I had to drive all of them home because at that time neither of them had cars, and we all kind of live on separate sides of town. So it was just a very very
Right.
tiring experience. Uh, but I I remember thinking after that was done, I went up to one of my friends because he worked with the director on the project because like you know how I said it was like partner projects, that was theirs. That was their partner
Mm-hmm.
project, and I went up to my friend who was one of the partners, and I was like, "Hey, so like next time, how about we just do it together?" And I don't know why I didn't think about this before, but I was like, "Why don't we just do it together?" So I'm like, because I think we're kind of on the same wavelength. So
Right.
that's that's what I can only hope the future has in store. But that was a
Yeah.
very it's I've had a lot of experiences in my film school time that has been very like hectic 1 day shoots that weren't out of anything that we really could either control or care for. But there was one time um, that we filmed in an abandoned quarry. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we were allowed to be there. So
Mm-hmm.
so like it was a lot of like it was an incredible set, and I really hope that my friend is able to put this out some kind of way. But like
Yeah.
it was an incredible set. It was like it looked really good. Um, but the only downside to it was that we had to constantly be on the lookout to see if anybody was close by so that we didn't get caught.
All right.
And I don't think much would have happened, obviously, because it's abandoned. But obviously, it was not the safest place to be. Um,
Yeah.
but it's those stories that like even the bad times are like I kind of like this. Like I like being able to have these stories about my time in film school, and I'm happy that I'm only
Mm-hmm.
like nearly halfway through. Like there's still more to go. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and there's other times that we've been called like unprofessional by some of the upperclassmen, but I remember there was one specific time
All
where
right.
this was okay. This was, and I'll get off this topic after this, but my
Mm-hmm.
my friend. So okay, in the short that I will never release, uh, my friend who starred in it, uh, had he had another thing going on that day of shooting, which was going to do a really quick audition with one of his upperclassmen friends. They're like, oh yeah, we're making like a whole planned out short film for our class, and we wanted to see if you wanted to audition. He's like, yeah. So he goes, and he's like, I'll be back in like 10 minutes, and I'm like, all right, cool. So we just kind of sat around and delayed production until he came back. He comes back like 20 minutes later, and he's like, I don't know what's going on, and they didn't say this in the email, but they're doing an entire table read right now, and they need me for like 20
Oh.
minutes. And I was like, what? I was like, what? I was like, why? I'm like, they're going on about being all professional. Why didn't they say anything about this?
Yeah.
But it
Oh.
was, I was like, what happened? But we eventually got out of there. But that was another reason why that shoot was as
Mm.
hectic and not great as it was. But yeah, it's just film school stuff, and it's really fun in
Yeah.
hindsight. But when it's happening, it is just very very stressful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's we've been on that one for long enough, and I feel like I've been
Yeah.
ranting on about it for long enough. So, what are some other topics uh, that you
Right.
think are
Uh.
yeah.
Well, there are the two other films that I've seen that I haven't talked about.
Oh right,
Uh.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we got
that
so
was
off
that
track.
was no. Oh, dude, no problem. Uh. So the other film is kind of a film that randomly decided to watch, which was Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Ooh.
Uh, and I just came to the conclusion that I have to watch any movie that Charlie Kaufman has wrote, because
Oh
like,
yeah.
holy shit! I think I wrote that in my review of the movie. What did I say? Hold on. I said, yeah, I said I wish I was 0.1% as clever as Charlie Kaufman. That is definitely true. Like, just I've only seen two movies that he wrote. That and I'm Thinking of Ending Things, and both movies were like, because for the past few weeks I've been thinking of, starting to write my own short films, and to actually like try to make them, and send them to festivals. And this is the kind of movies that I watch, and I think like, what's the point? I'll never achieve such a level of cleverness and talent. But yeah, so obviously one of the best movies that Jim Carrey's been in, including The Truman Show and Sonic the Hedgehog. Uh, and I'm not sure, like, which one is my favorite performance of him between like this one or The Truman Show, because they're both like, I really love whenever comedy actors try to go into a more dramatic side.
Mhm.
Uh, like yeah, Adam Sandler with Uncle James or Punch Drunk Love. It really just shows like, because I mean Jim Carrey is a really really good actor.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I think he might be the most like underrated and overlooked actor working now, and for one reason that's very obvious. Is that he's making comedies. Um, and there's something that's weird and stupid that like whenever an actor mostly does comedies, they cannot think of him as like a great actor. Well, they can think of him as a great comedy actor, but nothing more than that. Like no Oscars
Right.
given to them or anything. I'd say it's the same reason why Adam Sandler was not nominated for an Oscar or anything. Because I'm pretty sure Jim Carrey was not. The only actor that I can think of that started pretty much being known only as for comedies, but that made a dramatic movie and won an Oscar for it is Robin Williams for Good Will Hunting. Besides that, like, yeah, I really wish that comedies could. I really wish that the Oscars could like change the way they think about comedies. And while we're at it, we can also add like horror movies and animated movies.
Yeah, can we fix that? It's really getting like
it's so annoying.
It's really getting annoying. Like the fact that there's only been one anime movie other than Studio Ghibli ever nominated for the Oscars is very crazy to me. And the fact that like I think in recent memory, I think Get Out was like the only horror movie that has been in the like Oscar running. Like, even when stuff like Lighthouse existed, it's just like Lighthouse was there for like cinematography, which it didn't even win that.
Was it? I didn't even know it was there for cinematography.
Yeah, it was. It was up for. That was the only award it was up for, and it didn't even win. I don't remember who beat. I don't remember what beat it, but I remember I was like, "You've been robbed."
Yeah, for sure. Actually, recently I saw a list that I actually have right in front of me of the list of horror movies that were nominated for that won Oscars, and most of them are like, for example, the first one is Sleepy Hollow by Tim Burton, which is like that's not really a horror movie. Like that's a creepy movie. Yeah. That's not a horror movie.
I don't really count. I don't know if you're the same way, but I don't really count Tim Burton as horror.
No.
It's too whimsical for me to be really scared.
He makes I will say he makes great introductions to the horror genre.
Yeah, I don't think they're bad movies. Let me clarify. I don't think they're bad movies.
No, I really like the stuff that he made in like from the beginning of his career to like the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
But I'd say like I feel like the people the kids who are big Tim Burton fans will end up being big horror movie fans.
Mm-hmm.
Like in general. So let's see what there's. So most of the Oscars were for either for makeup, for best. There's one here for best score. There's it's usually that like the technical awards, but not like the. I mean, they are artistic, but not the quote unquote artistic categories.
Right.
There is here. I see that. Kathy Bates did win for Misery.
Let's go. Oh my god.
I mean, yeah, no shit, she did.
Yeah, oh my god. I didn't even know that was something I needed in my life, but I'm glad that it exists. Good on you, Kathy Bates.
Yeah. Ruth Gordon won an Oscar for her performance in Rosemary's Baby.
Yes, she did. That's great.
And yeah, so in terms of actually winning, the only one that was big that year at the Oscar, and honestly, it's really not a film that I consider that much to be a horror movie, is Silence of the Lambs. Like to me, it's more of a thriller than a like full on horror movie, but it did win 5 Oscars.
Oh, wow.
It won Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Actress, Best Actor, Best Director, and Best Picture. So, like, the big awards. And, yeah, so, I mean, it's really stupid how whenever I see people complaining about that on Twitter, about the way that the Oscars treat horror movies, you've always got that one guy who, for some reason, like, really wants to suck the Oscars' dick and who just tries to defend them on everything, and who just says, well, yeah, but like, are you forgetting that 50 years ago The Exorcist won an Oscar, and that 30 years ago Silence of the Lambs won some Oscars? It's not that bad, really.
Yeah,
like,
30 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, what the world?
I mean, yeah, like, Get Out was like the first horror movie to win an Oscar in like 30 years.
Yeah. Like, Robert Eggers and Ari Aster have been killing it.
Yeah.
And they have never been nominated for an Oscar before Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Was given even cinematography. Willem Dafoe wasn't even nominated. My God. That is a crime. It should be illegal.
Yeah.
Like, that's the most absurd thing I've ever heard.
Dude, I'm gonna call the fucking police. I swear to God. Hold on. What horror movies released this year could win or could be nominated at the Oscars?
1 second.
Hold on.
I want to take a look at that.
Yeah, the first one that I think of, I don't see it happening, but Last Night in Soho is the only horror movie that I think of that, like, good horror movie, at least in my opinion, that was released this year.
Let's see.
Again, never happening because that's another conversation, but it's a foreign movie. There's Titan.
I think Titan might get a nomination because it won the Palme d'Or, obviously.
Yeah, it's all right. I get what you're saying, but it's not going to get anything more than best foreign movie. I can guarantee. I would love it.
I don't think it'll get it, but I think it could be nominated for Best Picture. I think nominated, maybe.
I mean, if it happens, like, even if it's nominated, I would be so happy. But in my opinion, never happening. Never happening in a million years.
No, Titan winning Best Picture is going to be like, it would be an earth-shattering moment. It'd be like, what?
Yeah.
But like, I feel like this year has some good potential to be like another year of snubs, at least in a minor way.
Yeah.
Because I can picture French Dispatch being nominated for stuff. I can picture Titan being nominated. I can picture Spencer being nominated. But if they don't win best actress, I gotta say, I might be angry.
Yeah.
The Last Duel, maybe. It was a good movie. I don't know. It's
what's
I'm
interesting.
hoping.
What's interesting about this conversation? We've talked about the Oscars in a recent episode, but recently there were the Golden Globes, which
we did not talk about that.
No, we did not talk about it. But the Golden Globes, like, generally can give us like an approximation of what the Oscars will be. So if we look at, can I have? Also, what's different is that the Golden Globes does something that I am kind of like divided with, is that they have two categories for like everything. They have one for Best Actor in a movie and Best Actor for a comedy or a musical or a horror movie, like for genre movies, which I'm kind of mixed about, because one, like, dividing those movies I think is fucking stupid, and it's like there's so much that's wrong with that. But in another way, like, those movies would never win prizes otherwise. So yeah. But if you look at hold on a sec, I just need to find it. Hold on. Shit, I got to go on the website. Yeah, so Best Picture in Drama. The movies nominated were Belfast, which I think is the new film by what's his face, Gilroy Lockhart. Hold on. Kenneth Branagh. That's his new movie. There's Coda, which I'm not really familiar with.
I did not hear about that one either. I'm looking at the list right now too.
There's Dune, which
I
really want Dune to win like some Oscars.
Oh, I'm sure it'll win. Like
I'm sure it'll win.
I am like certain it'll win like the special effects Oscar.
Oh, it's guaranteed pretty much.
Yeah, there's no way.
The other movie that was nominated is actually a movie that I haven't heard that much people talking about. It's King Richard with Will Smith.
I saw the trailer for it, and it was on HBO Max for a little bit of time, but I did not watch it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've heard it's all right.
And then you've got Best Picture for Musical or Comedy. So we've got
which. Oh wait, did you mention what? Did you mention what won?
Oh yeah, I didn't mention The Power of the Dog, the new forgot her name too. What? Who's the director again? Jane Campion.
What?
So, yeah.
What kind of? I'm looking at this right now. I'm just now realizing that I've never closely looked at the Golden Globes because I never realized that for some reason they separated drama and musical and comedy. Why? If they were to separate it, why would they separate musical and comedy into the same thing? It's not like those genres are very similar. You can have a musical comedy, but they're not. They're mutually exclusive. And I mean, they can be other things.
Yeah, but
it's very
stupid.
weird.
But so the nominees for Best Musical or Comedy were Tick Tick Boom, which was my number one film of 2021, Licorice Pizza, Cyrano with Peter Dinklage, Don't Look Up, and the winner, West Side Story. Which I mean,
I have not seen the movie, but I just don't want West Side Story to win anything at the Oscars. I know it's gonna, but I just don't want it to sweep. If it does, if it does this year, it'll be a wash because it just seems really bland, and I really
well. See, all right. The thing is, it's kind of like the kind of stuff that those award shows really like, because it's
that's exactly
West Side Story is such a classic. Like, it's one of the biggest musicals from the time where musicals were really 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 big in Hollywood. And it's made by Steven Spielberg, who's like. Steven Spielberg. I don't have anything to add to that. And any movies that are like related to Hollywood and the history of Hollywood, I find is like the kind of movies that the Oscars really like. Yeah,
there's no way that West Side Story is this year's like big Oscar thing. Like I can already see it, but if this like sweeps the Oscars, it's going to, I guess, shut out the light from so many other. I personally think more interesting movies that we've talked about to death. But I'll be very disappointed. I guess.
Well, now I scroll down and I'm looking at the Best Actress in a Motion Picture Drama. And in the nominees, there's Kristen Stewart for Spencer, which was your I'm guessing your favorite performance of the year.
Yes.
Then there's Lady Gaga in House of Gucci. Olivia Colman in The Lost Daughter, which was not my favorite performance of 2021, but my favorite actress. So still. And then you had Jessica Chastain in the Eyes of Tammy Faye, which I'm not familiar with that movie.
I'm not familiar with that either.
And the winner was Nicole Kidman for Being the Ricardos, which is another movie that I'm not familiar with.
I'm not familiar with that one either. so I can't really say too much.
Yeah, it's an Amazon Prime original. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, all right, it's another movie that talks about like Hollywood in the 50s.
Great.
So, thank you. Oh, wait, it was directed by Aaron Sorkin.
I'm sorry?
Aaron Sorkin directed a movie this year?
And I didn't hear about it?
What? How did we not hear about that?
What in the world? All right, now I'm a little bit more interested.
Yes, same, because it's like, I mean, also like Aaron Sorkin doesn't direct that many movies, but he directed he directed a movie like 2 years in a row. That's weird. Like, that's
right.
surprising. So I am gonna add that to my watch list. But yeah. So I am kind of surprised. I did think for that kind of stuff that Kristen Stewart was gonna win, but I guess not.
Right.
Then Best Actor in a Motion Picture Drama, you had Denzel Washington for The Tragedy of Macbeth, Benedict Cumberbatch for The Power of the Dog, Javier Bardem for Being the Ricardos. I didn't even know he was in that.
Oh, wow.
Mahershala Ali for Swan Song, which is another movie that I don't know. And the winner is Will Smith for King Richard. So I guess that movie was really like a big movie for the Golden Globes this year.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking funny. Now you got Best Actress for a Musical and Comedy. The first one is Emma Stone for Cruella.
Oh.
Dude, why? That it's. I always hate whenever like one of those like live action remakes win.
Yeah.
Or even just get nominated for anything. Like didn't The Lion King win the Oscar for best special effects? Oh, no, didn't win best, and it was nominated for best animated movie, which I thought was fucking funny.
It is very funny. Wait. So did Emma Stone win?
No, she didn't. She was just nominated.
Oh. Okay.
There was also Jennifer Lawrence for Don't Look Up, which I mean, it's Jennifer Lawrence, so why not? Alana Haim for Licorice Pizza.
Oh, let's go. All right, that's a good one.
Of course, Marion Cotillard for Annette. And finally, the winner was Rachel Zegler for West Side Story. Which I think it was like her first big role.
Mm-hmm.
I think she won a Golden Globe for that, so that's pretty cool.
The thing with West Side Story that I think is going to be very interesting throughout the awards season is the fact that Ansel Elgort is the lead of the movie, and he is not going to be mentioned at all.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, some pretty serious allegations were leveled against Ansel earlier this year. So I'd be very surprised if I hear his name during the Oscars. But you know.
Yeah, it
Hollywood.
But then for Best Actor in a Musical or Comedy, that's the one that I'm very happy about, the winner. But so the nominees were Anthony Ramos for In the Heights, just to remind people that this movie exists and came out this year. Because I don't know about you, I completely forgot about that.
Oh no, yeah, the only reason I remember is because my girlfriend's a huge Lin-Manuel Miranda fan, so like she listens to the soundtracks a lot, and I remember it exists. But
what's funny is that like
it.
this is one of 3 movies that Lin-Manuel Miranda worked on this year, and like I feel like were talking so much about the two first ones that like they completely overshadowed this one. Then you got Cooper Hoffman for Licorice Pizza, which like is kind of really cool to see. Like,
good for him.
Good for him, yeah.
Both him and Alana did. Both him and Alana did like so good in that movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I'm sure they did. And it's just like I hope that he's gonna get like a career as big as his father. You know.
Yeah, I would love it.
That would be really cool for him. Then is Peter Dinklage for Cyrano. So I hadn't seen the movie, but sure. Leonardo DiCaprio for Don't Look Up. Same thing with Jennifer Lawrence. It's not really like I think it's also because like they're two actors that people like to give prizes to. But the winner is making me very, 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 very happy because it's Andrew Garfield in Tick, Tick, Boom.
Good for him.
So, man, it's like, but that and Spider-Man this has just made me love Andrew Garfield so much.
I'm glad he's getting some appreciation.
Now I'm curious. Oh, all right, yeah. So now we got Best Director. So the first one is Denis Villeneuve for Dune, which I've mentioned times and times again about how like for very patriotic reasons I really want him to win anything. Then you got Steven Spielberg for West Side Story because it's fucking Steven Spielberg. Then you got Maggie Gyllenhaal for The Lost Daughter, which I'm very happy that for a directorial debut she was able to get nominated. That's pretty cool. And then Kenneth Branagh for Belfast, and finally the winner Jane Campion for The Power of the Dog, which is making me curious, like how many women won this award. But it's also, I just realized like last year was Chloe Zhao, right?
Oh yeah,
wasn't it?
Yes.
So like 2 years in a row where a woman won Best Director. Like, dude, that's something. But yeah, so that's the Golden Globes, which like I personally really don't care that much about the Golden Globes in general.
Yeah, it always seems like the Oscars is the much more like big thing that everyone looks to, which I mean, it might just be confirmation bias because I do the same thing, but
I'm not sure what it is about it though. Like I think it's because I think it's because they also give awards to TV shows.
Yeah, it's so that and it's like that, and I think like the Oscars is probably so prominent because it's so big and it's so old. Like it's like one of the biggest award shows ever. Yeah. So yeah, it's something, and yeah. But I guess to get on like a final topic, I guess, for this episode, just today, I don't know if you saw, today as a recording this, the April 2022 announcements were announced for the Criterion collection.
Yeah. I saw that this morning.
To quickly go over it, we have a Blu-ray. We have a couple upgrades. We have a Blu-ray upgrade for Spine number 423, Walker, directed by Alex Cox. We have a 4K upgrade for Spine number 54, For All Mankind, directed by Al Reinhardt, which is the documentary on the Apollo moon landing mission. We have here are the new additions. We have Spine number 1119, Miracle in Milan, directed by Vittorio De Sica. I think that's Sica. I'm not too sure. Spine number 1120, The Girl Can't Help It, directed by Frank Tashlin. We have Spine number 1121, which was another 2020 film. I I'm sorry if I butcher this. Ayamofe, or in parentheses, this is my desire. Which I did not really even hear anything about, but apparently a lot of people who saw it liked it a lot, and are really happy that it's out on Criterion. So I kind of wanted to make that. That kind of makes me want to check it out. And the final announcement was Spine number 1122, Round Midnight, directed by Bertrand Tavernier. So that was the month. No real huge announcements that I am too interested in checking out. I want to watch I Am Mofe, but I don't think I'm going to buy it. I might take a look at For All Mankind, because that seems really interesting. But it's just another month.
Another month where I don't know any movie that were announced. But I'm curious to watch them.
Of course, yeah. I'm curious to hear about it.
So, all right, you said a closing topic, but I do have another thing. I do have a third movie that I watched
oh my god! Oh my god! We really went on tangents in this episode.
Dude,
Jesus.
Oh my goodness!
I completely
forgot about that.
So what is it?
This is a movie called I'm Still Here, directed by Casey Affleck with Joaquin Phoenix. It is a very, very, very interesting case. So I think you. So it says here that you put it in your watch list, so I assume that you kind of know what it's about.
I believe so.
Right. So to explain anyone who doesn't know this movie, back in 2008. Actor,
yes, I do know this one. All
right. Actor Joaquin Phoenix, at the time known for his role as Johnny Cash in Walk the Line, announced publicly that he was retiring from acting. And that not only that, but he was going to start a new career in rap music. Everyone hearing that, we're kind of like, what the fuck? Excuse me? And so the whole documentary is just him that shows his life for a year, from the moment where he announces that he's retiring to, like, him starting to release, like, some of his work as a rapper. And, well, the thing is, so if you don't know the story, you might think, like, how is that possible? And how, like, because, like, he's not retired. He won an Oscar 2 years ago. Well, yeah, because that was completely, like, that was a massive prank. That was 1 year, one entire year of Joaquin Phoenix method acting on everyone.
It's incredible.
And it's the most insane thing I've seen in a while. Like I said, I said when we were talking about American Psycho, how Christian Bale's performance is one of the best one I've seen in a while. It's that and Joaquin Phoenix's performance, because, like,
yeah,
they even show him, like, when he goes on David Letterman, and he just acts like someone who's insane, like who's crazy. And after watching the movie, I also watched an interview that he did with David Letterman to promote I'm Still Here, where they mostly went over the interview to talk about, like, how it happened.
That's amazing.
It's, like,
I think I added that to my watch list because I saw that you watched it or something, and I'm like, what is this movie? And I, like, checked it out.
And it's like, the fact that this movie exists is, like, actually insane. And I think, like, there's still some people who, like, have watched the movie without knowing that it's fake, which I think is really funny.
That's awesome.
Which, like, if you watch the movie thinking it's fake, it really makes you wonder, like, what happened to Joaquin Phoenix so that he went from being this crazy man who's going to write music to going back to movies and being like her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane and just made me respect Joaquin Phoenix so much more. It's an insane movie, and I highly recommend it. And yeah, that's it for this movie. So I'm guessing now it's time to announce next week's film.
Yes.
So I've already set up the randomizer, so let me click on randomize, and
all right.
Oh, fuck yeah. The movie we will be talking about next week is Chungking Express.
Yes! Yes!
Fuck yeah.
Oh my god,
Finally.
Yes.
Finally, we will be talking about Wong Kar-Wai.
I love Chungking Express. And
I love it so much.
I saw it 3 times last year, and I don't even care. I'm gonna watch it again for this fucking podcast.
Oh yeah. And I've only seen it once, but I'm so down to watch it again. Wong Kar-Wai really is a director that I discovered. I'd never before 2021. I barely even heard of him, and now I've seen a couple of his movies, and he's kind of become, I think, one of my favorite directors, and I really love him. And Chungking Express is my favorite one that he's made, so I'm very excited to rewatch it and rediscover it.
I've seen 7 of his films through the World of Wong Kar-Wai Criterion box set, and I agree in when you say that it is probably his best.
Yeah.
But I'm so genuinely excited to talk about this movie. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's it for Movie Dudes this week.
Yeah. Thank you everybody for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, that kind of stuff. Follow us on Twitter and stuff. Phil streams. So watch him on that. And I guess that's about it. Thank you for watching.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye.